Watch this.
The state of Oregon decriminalizing certain drugs has had an impact all over the state, including on the eastern side. Malheur County said it would bring homelessness and crime into the area. We're checking back in to see if that has happened, especially after what happened there yesterday. Second verse, same as the first. Aamon Bundy was a no-show at another court hearing, but that hasn't kept him off the internet and restating why he may or may not make another appearance. You know, John Miller has had a lot of Idaho Life classics. We love to share them. One we haven't dusted off, though, is a 4-part series on one man who loves sunflowers and also loves to laugh about it.
In my opinion, and from what I've seen in my community, increased homelessness, increased transiency, increased property crimes, increased overdose deaths.
That was 2 years after Oregon voters approved Measure 110 to decriminalize hard drugs. Well, that's how the Malheur County District Attorney described the impacts of that new law: homelessness, property crime, and death. The idea is to treat people with drug addiction rather than, making them criminals and locking them up. And it was a good enough idea to pass in 2020 with more than 58% of voters in support of it. But many who oppose the law say it didn't really play out how they expected. Again, pointing back to the increased homelessness and property crime, especially in those areas, like as you mentioned, in eastern Oregon, which is now a good time to bring in Andrew Bartline, who was up in Ontario once again today, revisiting them, where the police department is, well, they're kind of dealing with, I guess, both of these firsthand, right, Andrew?
Yeah, and that's the realities of policing in Ontario. Is these cars right here, you see that brick, police say a woman took that brick, a homeless woman, smashed it through 7 squad cars, breaking the windows. You can see those pictures for yourself. And it was a landscaping brick, again, from other city property. In total, Ontario Police Chief Michael Ely says this will cost the city more than $15,000. That's still just an estimate at this point. It could be a floor up to $20,000. And the vandalism got around too, a block away. A woman had her window smashed at B&B Printing. And by this point, police received a call and they had arrested her with no problem. But police say they noticed very strange behavior when they showed up to make that arrest.
She was making some suggestions that there were a lot of bugs that were around her and that they were biting her. Her behavior was very erratic. She was sweating profusely, and she was screaming about the bugs being on her and biting her.
Police took her to the hospital because it seems like someone's struggling with a mental problem, mental illness, or having a negative reaction to a drug or other substances, which, well, police say was the case considering what they already know about this woman.
She admitted to recent psilocybin mushroom ingestion or hallucinogenic drugs, and with hallucinogens, some of the key indicators are elevated vitals, blood pressure, pulse being elevated, pupils being dilated, and synesthesia is very common within hallucinogen drug category. We definitely knew the suspect previous to this incident, so we know this person, and drugs seem to be an issue with this. So when you talk about ballot measure 110, yeah, there's still a lot of wraparound services that we can't provide 24/7. I'm hoping over the next couple of years, more funding finds its way to Malheur County, specifically Ontario.
Why are we looking into this specifically? Well, it's because this is the exact example that Ontario city leaders and Malheur County leaders have complained about to us going back to last year. Chief EY suspects this woman was under the influence of drugs. She admitted to taking drugs that day. He says he has seen this pattern of behavior, believes that she has an addiction and she needs help. Well, they can charge her for these property crimes and these damages, and they are, but that doesn't solve the root of the issue. And even with an admission of drug use, I should say, and the long history that the police department has seen with this person, they have no power to push her into any sort of drug rehab or treatment.
A lot of people have no hope, and I can't give people hope. That needs to be more intrinsic. They need to want to change. But I am doing my part in working with our community partners. The entire police department's doing their part to support those that really want the help.
EY adds, under Oregon law, Ontario needs more resources to help with the needs of homelessness, drug addiction in their city, which really is the point of Measure 110, how it's supposed to work. They legalized marijuana years ago. That means there's a lot of tax dollars, right? Well, Oregon Health Authority says Malheur County received $2 million before starting this calendar year, and we can actually see how they're going to be spent if I would have timed this graphic a little more closely. There's a line item. It's supposed to be $350,000. That's how much they've spent of the $2 million on just housing services alone. Meanwhile, though, there are 0 clients for this rehousing piece of the report in Malheur County. So we were told in November that Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, they're one of the 3 local organizations that get this money, Brian, they were going to institute a 7-unit complex with addiction recovery services in-house. That was the goal.
Okay.
$350,000 they've spent, no clients. We reached out to them. Is this moving forward? Because this individual case, this person, seems like someone that could benefit from it.
Right.
Well, it's been years, and it doesn't seem that there's been progress made on this, at least that we've been able to report up to this point, and what we've heard now without getting a response today.
Okay, so you mentioned this is one woman's story and one day out of her life kind of thing. Is there any indication that this is more widespread than this one woman in one day?
Last November, when we did the original story, property crimes increased by a significant number. And my first thought was, well, can you really attribute all property crimes to this situation? That might be a loose connection as well. But the police say that there's a connection there. And in this case, it seems there is.
All right, they're waiting for more money, and we'll see if we can get some more numbers to back that up. All right, thank you very much, Andrew. You know, anti-government activist and former candidate for governor Aamon Bundy was due in court today for a hearing on an injunction to keep him from selling his assets to avoid paying the $52.5 million he lost in a St. Luke's lawsuit against him. The lawsuit stems from the days-long protest in front of St. Luke's in Boise, which prompted the hospital to shut down at one point, with Bundy and his friend Diego Rodriguez leading the charge in harassing and threatening those involved with the medical care of a malnourished infant. They lost the lawsuit, and St. Luke's is trying to get them to stop selling their stuff so they can pay it. Well, that hearing was scheduled for 1 o'clock this afternoon, but before that, Bundy wrote a letter to the lead attorney for St. Luke's, Eric Stidham, in response to him wondering if Bundy was going to show up for that hearing, and he posted that letter online. The last line of that letter, Bundy says, not knowing what God wants him to do right now, he wrote, quote, "I have not yet to decide if I will be attending the hearing today." Narrator, he didn't attend the hearing today. That wasn't the most interesting part of Bundy's letter to Stidham this morning. Accusing the attorney and the hospital of misusing the courts, Bundy wrote, "You are seeking to make my family homeless and destitute. I have 6 children, young children's," he wrote. "I have very little to pay for a defense in the courts. St. Luke's has millions, hardly a fair fight." So he asked, do I flee Idaho with nothing, start over somewhere else? Do I grind through the legal process with no money? Or, quote, do I unite my neighbors, friends, and family to physically defend against this terrible assault on liberty and the right to keep the fruits of my labor? I think we can all kind of vaguely understand what physically defend might mean in this case, considering how many times Bundy's People's Rights Network puts out the call to its members to show up and support Bundy in his legal issues. They refer to it as a call to action. Well, a few of those showed up. Numbers of those, though, who continue to show up, that continues to dwindle. Meanwhile, Stidham did write Bundy back this morning, basically saying, look, I just want to know if you're going to be in the Gem County courtroom today. If not, does that mean you are not opposing the injunction? And to avoid any more paperwork having to be delivered to your house in the court's time and taxpayer money being wasted, maybe you could just let us know in an email. Please make it candid and clear, not a rambling opus where we have to decipher what you mean by it. Thirdly, your wife is now entangled in this mess since her name is on the transaction to transfer the Harvest Lane property, which is where Bundy lives. So she should be prepared to take the stand should she show up in court today, which she didn't. Also, if you or your attorney, if you have one, want to talk about it, well, you have until 1 o'clock today because, well, that's when the hearing starts. That hearing wrapped up a few moments ago with the judge saying he wants some time to think it over, and he's going to extend the temporary restraining order because today's hearing is about making it a permanent injunction on all those assets and getting rid of them for Bundy. Bundy, meanwhile, has another court date tomorrow, this time in Ada County. This also related to the St. Luke's lawsuit. Remember when he was arrested at the Emmett High School football fundraiser a few weeks ago? Well, this one is concerning his contempt of court charge related to that, which is related to Bundy's continuing to harass and threaten those involved in the original child endangerment case. Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador has taken another legal hit. Neither he nor his Solicitor General will be allowed to prosecute the State Board of Education over how it handled the pursuit of the University of Phoenix by the University of Idaho. This ruling came down late last week and was first reported by Idaho Ed News. So in order to sue the State Board of Ed for whatever Labrador claims, or for what I should say, Labrador claims were a violation of open meetings law, he would have to appoint an outside counsel, or he might have to assign someone else within his office. That's according to our media partner at the Idaho Press. This was all over how the state board allegedly talked in executive session back in May about the U of I buying the University of Phoenix. Attorneys for the State Board of Ed argued Labrador asked for confidential information from the board's executive director before letting it be known he intended to file a lawsuit. Labrador's office said, well, they made it clear from the very beginning that's what they were going to do. The judge, though, didn't buy it, saying the AG's office legally can't use confidential information against them. Labrador has until September 5th to appoint another attorney, or this case will be dismissed. All right, so what else is going on here in the 208? Let's see, we've got elections, we've got an East Fire update to tell you about, and of course, eating carp. Here's your 411 with Morgan Romero.
An election in August? Yup. Tomorrow, 4 school districts in 5 counties in Idaho have either a bond or a levy for voters to decide. In Canyon County, Valley View School District wants a $14 million supplemental levy spread over the next 2 years. It would replace an existing levy, which is set to expire next June. So what would it mean to property owners within the district? An extra $27 in taxes. For every $100,000 in property value, that payment would go from $49 to $76 each year. In Jerome County, the Valley School District's supplemental levy would be worth $600,000 over the next 2 years. That would be an increase in property tax of $90 per year for every $100,000 in value. Meanwhile, the Shoshone School District is hoping voters approve an $8.2 million bond spread over 20 years. Its estimated cost, just shy of $128 per $100,000 of taxable value. And lastly, the Castleford School District is asking for a 2-year, $700,000 supplemental levy. That would be about $152 per $100,000 value for property owners. Questions? Check out our voter guide for more Election Day information right now at ktvb.com. And checking in on wildfires near our area, firefighters are making progress on the East Fire, now about 39% contained. It's burning about 10 miles east of Cascade and is up to more than 3,300 acres. Crews expect to have full containment by the end of September. They're still trying to figure out how the fire started earlier this month. Trout, salmon, bass, all popular fish to catch in Idaho's waterways. But don't sleep on the carp, says Idaho Fish and Game. Yes, they are bottom feeders, mud marlins, suburban salmon, whatever you want to call them. They can help put the sport in sport fishing. Fish and Game is promoting the common carp. The carp was introduced in the U.S. back in the 1800s to help feed the growing population and stayed around because of their resilience and ability to adapt. The best places to find them? Shallow backwaters of lakes and rivers in the mornings and evenings. So if you're looking for a good challenge any time of the year, try to beat the Idaho carp record of 34 pounds. Then enjoy the fruits of your labor by cooking up some batter-fried carp nuggets. Or just Google how to cook carp. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Morgan Romero.
End of July through August, right about now, usually referred to as the dog days of summer. It's meant as a reference to astronomy, yes, but also these days it's about the weather. Now, this time of year is traditionally the hottest and driest. That's kind of what it alludes to. But when it came to Idaho life traditions, this time of year was when John Miller might visit a man out in Eagle who had an affinity for sunflowers. Today's 208 Redial is a long-term glimpse into Les Macy's life, which actually started in the August of 1977.
This whole thing is really Les Macy's daughter's fault.
And I was over there one day for a Sunday dinner, and she sent 3 heads home with me. Yes.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
You pulled out the seeds,
Yep, to feed the birds.
but Les didn't feed the birds. No, he fed his curious mind by feeding a half-acre field with almost a half gallon of the seeds.
Of the seeds,
Didn't you know what was going to happen?
I didn't have the slightest idea.
Oh, man. I think you're onto something here.
Oh, well, I may be on to something, but how am I going to get off of it? That's the thing that's got me worried.
How many times have you watered them?
None. No water.
And in all my years, I don't remember a guy who laughed as hard as the guy who accidentally grew 1,000 sunflowers. The most beautiful problem you'll ever see.
I'll tell you.
Something John saw again a year later.
You did it again, huh?
I did it again. That's right. And you know, they say there's no fool like an old fool, so I get. Well, I decided this spring I was going to do something a little different. So I planted sunflowers and corn.
Les Macy, you've invented the cornflower.
I guess so.
You can't get through a sentence without cracking up over this.
Right.
You've never been able to do that, have you?
No.
And John couldn't get through another year
Because I always know I'm going to be back next year.
Yeah.
without stopping by Les Macy's half-acre.
Right.
There he was in late summer of 1999.
This is part 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the 3rd time I've been out here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe you'll get a job in a floral shop, Les Macy.
That'd be kind of a show, wouldn't it?
Then I'd be out for Les Macy Part 4.
Right.
Of course, the storyline never really changes. Old man with sunflower field and rosy disposition laughs constantly. And every time he laughs, it's a little louder than the time before. It's like Les Macy's really planted all those sunflowers to hide some secret fountain of youth. I swear he's a little younger every year.
He would only know that
What's next for you?
What's next for me? Well,
because, like the seasons,
I've always dreaded the day when I'd get the note from Les Macy's daughter telling me her dad's sunflowers were fading for the final time.
Miller would make it back to Macy's. A little worried, he would find Father Time had taken more of Les's time away from tending to his flowers.
But I never imagined it would be because he was doing his laundry right there on the porch in the 1949 Ring-O-Matic Rinky-Dink Squeeze-O-Matic Special, and that's when I knew Les had earned it. His own Les Macy theme song, which of course sounds like this. 89 years old and you still have to do your own laundry, huh?
right. Well, I can't afford to hire a maid.
Seems selling sunflowers at 10 cents a pop still hasn't made Les a millionaire.
They call this place Poverty Flats.
Oh yeah, that's right. Same as he's always been with that same old washing machine and now his own theme song. We aren't sure how long Les Macy will keep doing his own laundry, but I'm getting the feeling he'll never hang up his sunflowers.
Well, it could be.
John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
4-year story in the making. And we're not sure either what happened to Les Macy's property in Eagle or even exactly where it was. We do know Lester Arthur Macy left this world behind at the age of 91, a few years after John's last visit. He died in March of 2003, and we are going to miss those sunflowers and especially that laugh. And if anyone out there knows his daughter or whatever happened to Les's sunflowers after that, well, we would love to hear about it.
It has been a hot and sunny kickoff to the work week. A few puffy clouds building over the mountains, but all in all, clear skies. We're up to 97 in the City of Trees, a good 10 degrees hotter than is typical for the final few days of August. We're typically closer to about 87. So if you love summertime heat, get out and about today, because by tomorrow we have some changes in the works. I do think we'll still hit the 90s tomorrow. High pressure remains in control for most of Tuesday, but by this time tomorrow, the winds will be gusting as well, so it won't be quite as enjoyable to get out and enjoy the warmth. So hot and sunny today, tomorrow, and then here's what's going to send a big change up into our weather pattern. A cold front is marching towards the Pacific Northwest as we speak, followed by a pool of cool air. In fact, by Wednesday, we likely have the coolest day we've seen in over 2 months coming our way. Quick little taste of fall by the middle of the week. So as the cold front comes in late tomorrow, wind will be one of the biggest impacts. Will be pretty windy along with and behind the front tomorrow, even gustier and more blustery on Wednesday. 30 to 40 plus mile per hour wind gusts are possible from that span of Tuesday afternoon into late Wednesday. Smoke will return as well, so that is an impact. Our air quality will likely deteriorate a bit tomorrow as that cold front will pull smoke in from the west and send it back into southwest Idaho. Rain and thunderstorms will likely fire up as the front comes through, so it'll be quick, but these storms could be strong. Gusty winds and quick bursts of rain are possible around dinner time in the central mountains tomorrow, possibly as early as 3 p.m. for some places. And then impact on temperatures very high. In fact, by Wednesday, we'll see temperatures 20 degrees colder than what we're seeing right now. Fire concerns also high as this system comes in tomorrow. So a fire weather warning already in effect from 3 to 8 p.m. Tuesday for all of the areas shaded in hot pink as we see that system come in. Temperatures, like I said, do remain hot tomorrow. They plummet Wednesday back to more comfortable territory heading into Labor Day weekend.
All right, several comments today about Aamon Bundy not showing up once again for a court hearing, instead posting a letter online about his, I don't know, back and forth between he and the lawyer for St. Luke's. Like this one here from Dale in Boise. Bundy leaving Idaho is one of the better ideas he's come up with in some time. We could probably get volunteers to help him pack. At what point can Bundy be apprehended and put in jail for failure to appear? Well, this is a civil case, so maybe not that, but he was apprehended and put in jail for contempt of court, which is a criminal case. That did happen. How about if Bundy flees the state and Labrador gives him a ride, says Kevin. Criminalizing drug possession hasn't worked. Decriminalizing may not be working in Oregon, but I applaud them for having the courage to try something new. That is from David in Boise. And thank you for sharing Macy's story and most of all his infectious laughter. It made my day. And I found out where it is, apparently where Hill Road and Edgewood Lane came together. A very nice man. That's according to Sharon there in Eagle. We'll see you tomorrow.